All righty, can everyone hear me? We all live, ready to go?
Looks like we're ready to go
Gotcha.
here.
Perfect.
I'm ready to go.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to Livingston Live. We appreciate you all tuning in. We're running a little bit behind schedule, had a little bit of technical delay getting Stetson squared away, but we're all here to break out the notepads and learn how to become better square bill fishermen from Stetson Blaylock. So I'll kick it over to my co-host, Joel Shangle. Joel, how's it going, brother?
Doing well, doing well. Excited to get going here. I have actually had the pleasure of watching Stetson catch big fish on a square bill crankbait. So I'm excited about the opportunity to talk to him a little bit about catching those fish this time of year. And Stetson, of course, if you're not familiar, Stetson was a 2009 FLW Tour Rookie of the Year. He has had, I believe, 31 top 10 finishes on the FLW Tour. Bottom line is he's done pretty darn good for himself. And one of the tools that he utilizes is the square-billed crankbait. Stetson, the square-billed crankbait. What is it about that bait?
Well, first of all, I think it's a good bait to catch numbers of fish, and I think when you bring it past a big one, they're going to bite it also. I just feel like it's one of those baits that you can throw it any time of the year in almost any situation. And a lot of the reason I like it is because you can experiment with it, and you're never doing it wrong. That's one of the good things about it is no matter your line size, the rod and reel you use, everybody has their own opinion about those types of things. The hooks that you put on it, just the depths that you fish it. It's just a crankbait that you can. It's a bait that you can use in any situation, any scenario, and be successful with it.
So all of those things that you just mentioned, Stetson, hooks and line and rods and reels and situations, we're going to go through every single one of those over the course of this next hour or so, and we're going to kind of pull those apart a little bit. But let's zero in on this very specific time of year, because 2 weeks ago you were in Okeechobee, Florida, and fish were biting on a Primetime 2.0. Now I know that particular bait has become one of your very favorites because a year ago you did real well, another top 10 finish on the FLW Tour on Lake Toho, and you caught some giant fish on the same bait. So what is it specifically about this time of year in that condition that you go to that bait like you do?
Well, first of all, it works everywhere, but in Florida especially, it's the sound, it's the EBS technology that's inside that bait. I really think that color makes some sort of a difference every now and then. I think the depth that the bait's running makes a little bit of a difference every now and then, but the EBS technology in that bait, by far, without a doubt, is the most critical component to that bait. And I think you can catch them on a square bill that doesn't have that, but it's not. You're not getting near the bites. You're not getting near the quality of bites. And you have people say, "Well, I want a bait that's silent." And I want one that doesn't make any sound. Well, if you think about it, those baits, even when they're silent, they have hooks, they have hook hangers, they're beating off the rocks, they're making a lot of sound. And I think just having that EBS sound in there gives it just a little bit extra when it's beating off those rocks. And you can pause that bait and let the bait do its job and catch those extra bites. I mean, one of the best keys for me catching fish on the Primetime 2.0 is when you crank it down and pause it, no matter where I'm throwing it or how I'm fishing it, the pause always gets you a few bites during the day, and I know it's just because that sound is doing its job in that bait and they can't stand it. And 9 out of 10 times they have that bait swallowed. You can't even see it when you reel them in.
No, those aggressive strikes, we get those on all of our Livingston lures. But no, what I want to go into, Stetson, is why is that square bill this time of year specifically? We're talking about going down to Florida and fishing grass. Why is a square bill this time of year such a great search tool in those grassy natural lakes?
Well, I just feel like fish are always eating on shad. They always eat stuff that's moving. In my opinion, there's no better imitator than a square bill crankbait. You can wind it down and figure out by changing your line size and your hook size, the different depths of the grass. You get that bait down to different depths in order to reach the top of the grass, or whether you want it to stay on top and not ever touch the grass. You just have to experiment with different things. But I just feel like you can rig up 2 or 3 different baits. You can rig up the same bait on 2 or 3 different applications, meaning 12-pound test, 15-pound test, or 17-pound test. Put bigger hooks on one, smaller hooks on one. It just makes the bait do different things. It'll get deeper. It'll run shallower. It's just very versatile. You can throw it in so many different situations. It's perfect for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit more, Stetson, about one word that Nick said there, search tool. So one of the things that you see, and we'll not necessarily always refer to Florida, but one of the things that you see down in those specific fisheries is you have slower moving baits, jigs, worms, and so forth. But what is it specifically about the way that you can throw the square bill that makes it like if you're going to instead pick it up instead of, say, like a worm or a jig?
I just think you can cover more water. It's all about, in my situation, making a living fishing. You're looking for 5 fish, and you're looking for the 5 biggest fish. And I just feel like, especially when you're practicing, you can't cover as much water when you're throwing a worm or a jig or baits like that. It's a perfect tool to cover water, and when you get around fish, you're going to get a bite or two on the square bill crankbait, and that's going to key you into certain areas that are better. Now, is it the only thing you can throw in those situations? Absolutely not, but it's my go-to when I want to cover water and find more and bigger fish in a more effective time. I'm going to throw a square bill crankbait every time.
Mm-hmm. Well, Stetson, we're talking square bills here, shallow cranks. What specific lure is your go-to search bait this time of year?
Ask me that question again.
Oh, it's okay. Like I said, live stream here. We got a little bit of delay going on. So, Stetson, guys are asking, what specific lure and color is your favorite search bait this time of year, your favorite shallow crank?
This one right here is probably my absolute favorite. This one, this here is the is chartreuse shad, and this is a 2.0 prime time, and I like the EBS original sound. I like to throw it on 15-pound Seagar fluorocarbon. If I get to a new lake that I've never been to, or I'm on a lake that I fish all the time, I'm going to put it on 15-pound Seagar fluorocarbon. I really like throwing my crankbaits on fluorocarbon line all the time, either grass, wood, or rock. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to throw one that looks, and this particular color isn't the best everywhere. There's other colors that work better. For instance, this is the example shad that I caught them on in Florida. It's different parts of the country, different colors work better. So it's all about experimenting. When I get to a new lake, I put it on 15-pound fluorocarbon line. I'm going to throw it on a 7-1 medium Frankenstein from 13 Fishing. That's the setup that I like, and I always throw it on a 7. Throw the 13 Fishing Concept E, make long cast, and bring in a lot of line really quickly. And I think, again, it's all about time management, covering water, being able to get that bait in front of as many fish as possible and find those areas that you can key in on and be more successful.
So let's take a look here at the qualities of just the square bill crankbait in general, Stetson. Let's talk a little bit about let's zero in on that bait you've got in your hand there, the Primetime 2.0 square. Now there are other square bills out there, of course, but tell me a little bit more about the kind of the specific action of that bait, and why is it you prefer that specific bait?
Well, a square bill crankbait for a lot of years now is just one of the best shallow water crankbaits. It bounces off cover really well. We put this circuit board lip in it. It just gives it a great action. It's a wide wobble. Bounces off wood, rocks, anything that you can possibly throw it around. You can get that bait through it just like it's not even there. And that's one of the keys to fishing a square bill crankbait, is being able to put it in places where normally you wouldn't be able to throw a crankbait. And that square bill on the front of that bait just gives it that action and that wiggliness that you need to be able to come through those tight structures and catch those big fish that live there. And another key to square bill fishing is multiple casts. A lot of times you're not going to catch that fish on the first, second, maybe even 3 casts in to one specific piece of structure before you get that fish to bite.
Oops, looks like we lost the guest of the day there.
Who is the guest of the day? The live feed.
Looks like
live feed went down.
I'm still
there. See. Oh,
there you are.
still there.
still
Stetson.
Nick, let's go ahead and throw out here some of the deals that are available today.
Yeah, certainly. Well, you know what, guys, we appreciate everyone tuning into Livingston Live. I apologize for a little bit of the technical difficulties here we're experiencing, but for watching, most definitely, we always love to give you guys a flash sale here, and what we can do for you guys here, 25% off any Livingston Lures square bill here. All you got to do is use the code EBS. Is all you got to do. Code EBS. Right here, going to bring it on up. Code EBS till midnight tonight. You guys have use code EBS 25% off all your Livingston Lures square bills. So, and then also
just go. Here's the deal. Go to www.livingstonlures.com. Now we should note that we were talking a whole lot about the Primetime 2.0 here because that's the one bait that Stetson has had tremendous success this time of year. But in addition to those, the square bills in the Livingston Team Series include the Primetime Square 2.0, the Primetime Coffin Bill 2.0, and the Coffin Bill 1.5, and also Randy's square bill, the Howler DMC square. That's in the Team Series, which has EBS multi-touch technology. So that means that you can set it EBS Original, EBS Shad, EBS Craw, and Silent. That's 4 settings. In the Tournament Series, it's original EBS only, same body baits, but that's the same square bills, the Primetime Square 2.0, the Coffin Bill 2.0, the Coffin Bill 1.5, and the Howler Square. And in the Pro Series, the original Dive Master Junior, both saltwater and freshwater. All those baits I just rattled off, every one of those is 25% off until midnight tonight. That's a great deal.
Yep, every single one of them, guys. Right here, you have the Dive Master Junior in the original Pro Series red packaging, the blue packaging. You got the Primetime 2.0 with multi-touch, but also, you guys, the new Tournament Series. In the green packaging, you're going to find the new body styles and actions with original EBS sound technology at a $12.99 price point, plus your 25% webinar discount. So, another great opportunity for everyone watching. You can actually enter to win a fishing trip with Stetson Blaylock by simply texting EBS to 313131. I'm going to pull it up here real quick for you guys. You can pull up EBS to 313131. Now, Joel, have we been able to get Stetson back there on the live feed by chance?
I think I can hear him. Stetson, are you back there?
I'm here. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. We can hear you, but we can't see you. That's all right by me. As long as we can hear you, we're good.
Yeah, we're all learning. We're breaking out the notepads to learn. If we can see you or not see you, we want to hear what your knowledge is.
Let's jump into a couple of questions that we've had here posted, Stetson. We've had a handful of folks who have posted questions here for you to answer, and let's go back again to just the basic general setup that you're looking for and this is going to be just kind of a standard question, but if you're looking to throw a square bill, and we've talked a lot about Florida, let's go somewhere else. Let's go into the Midwest. What is the series of conditions that you would look for in order to know that you can throw a square bill?
Well, the optimal conditions would be early in the spring, late winter, early spring. I like to have sunshine no matter where I'm at, no matter what state I'm fishing in. I like to have sunshine. I just think, especially if you're fishing rock banks, riprap, rock jetties, even natural rock lakes that have a little stained water, the fish just like sunshine this time of year. They're trying to warm those eggs. They're ready to spawn. They're looking for places to make my nest. I like to have sunshine, and I like to find warmer water. Obviously, when the water's warmer, those fish are going to be shallower this time of year. So optimal conditions would be sunshine. If you have a little wind, that helps. It's not necessary. If you're fishing, obviously with a square bill crankbait, you're going to be throwing it pretty shallow. So it's better if you can have rock or wood But sunshine makes it better. It makes them hold tight to the cover. If you ask me what one key is to being successful with a square bill, be having a sunny day.
So that's definitely different than what most anglers consider. I mean, your average guy reading the books is looking at a stormy day or a windy day with a crankbait. But that's really great. Those fish going up getting ready to spawn. Joel, do we see any other really good questions coming up there on the live feed?
Yeah, so let's break this down to colors and so forth. Now there's one thing that we got a lot of questions, and this is just kind of the way people are. But people would, in addition to the one singular favorite color, Stetson, what are kind of a general series of colors you look for? Obviously, it's a shad imitator, so shad imitation colors. But I mean, if you're looking to kind of set yourself up in your home fishery this time of year, you've got different water clarities. So what is your advice on choosing a color? Because it's one of those things where, do you want to try to match the hatch, or do you want to just go with something that's bright when you've got dingy water?
Well, actually, they're shad imitators, but if I'm going to my own lake tomorrow and I'm going to throw nothing but Primetime 2.0s, I'm going to have several colors. And I'll read you my list of colors that I carry. I carry the candy shad, which is it's a pearl white color with a green back. It's just a natural shad color anytime that the water's stained. I'm going to carry Guntersville Crawl. And you might ask, well, why do you want to throw a square bill in a crawl color? Well, this time of year when those fish are moving up on those rocky banks, you got the sun shining bright, you're wanting to throw your prime time, you throw your shad color for a while, you catch one, and when you pick the fish up and look in his mouth, he's got a big old bright orange crawdad in there. So obviously the very next thing you're going to do is get down in your box and get out a Guntersville Crawl. And that's something that I always start out with two different colors tied on. I'll have a shad color and a crawl color. Some days the shad will work better, even if they're eating crawdads. It just depends on the day. And the biggest key here, I can't stress enough on square bill fishing, is don't be scared to try things and fail, and try things and fail. Because when you finally find the one that they want for that particular day, you're going to be glad you had all the different color options and were able to go through your selections there and find the one that they want. Another really good color is the yellow crawl. And it imitates a crawdad, but it's more just a brighter chartreuse color. And one thing that I like about it is just being able to cover water. If it's stained, you can throw your crawl colors or your candy shad. If it's clear, you can throw either a chartreuse shad, or you can even go with the more transparent colors. I try to stay more towards the chartreuse shad or the crawl colors almost all the time.
Well, that's good, Sis. And actually, those craw colors, that's a question we had come across in the live feed, is what about for guys that don't have shad? Talking about colors of baits, guys in Washington State, in the Northwest, up north, what are there any colors in the lineup that you throw when you're targeting specifically maybe brim or perch or any other species besides shad?
Salmon smolt.
Yep, salmon smolt is a good one.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to just experiment with it. I mean, obviously, when you're in your area where you're going to know what the forage is that the fish are feeding on, and you just want to try to match the hatch as close to close as you can. Fish that are eating a square bill, just like there's all kinds of baits out there. Soft plastic baits that don't look like anything that a fish eats, but yet they love them. So it's a matter of finding the bait that's the closest color to what the fish are eating in your area and going with it. I mean, whether it be a bluegill or whatever it is that they're feeding on, you just have to try to match the hatch as best you can. And another thing too with square bill fishing is it's a lot about reaction. So even if the fish are feeding on shad, they'll still react to a different color. It's all about the day, the light, whether you have sun or whether you don't have sun, or if the wind's blowing, you might want something with a little more flash to it. So it's not always about throwing the exact color that the fish are eating. It's about finding the best bait for that day, and that you're not going to figure that out by listening to somebody talk to you on the computer. You got to get out there and experiment with it to figure that out.
That's very well said. Let's zero in a little bit more on some specific baits here, Stetson. You talked about matching the hatch. So in addition to the 2.0 baits, which is the primetime square and also the primetime coffin bill, there's a 1.5. So the size of the bait, the size of the lure you're throwing, I mean, is that something that you'll kind of mix up a little bit? Will you go from a 2.0 to a 1.5?
I will, and a lot of times once I've found the fish, when I'm searching for them, I almost always throw the bigger crankbait. It's for me, it's a comfort thing. I'm just confident with it. It's more comfortable to me to throw that bait. But once I find an area, just say I've found an area that's got a lot of fish in it, and the tournament started, I catch 4 or 5 on my 2.0, and they kind of stop biting. I'll go to the 1.5 just to finesse it down a little bit if need be. Also, if I'm fishing a lake that has a lot of small bait fish, then I'll stick with the 1.5. It's again, you want to match the hatch as best you can, and if I'm fishing a lake that's got small bait fish, then I'll throw the 1.5 exclusively.
Oh, that's good, Stetson. You know, we're talking about switching up the size of baits. Now, I had a good question come in over the live feed. Is specifically, you know, the difference between a wide wobble and a skinny or tight shimmy to the bait. You know, in the pre-spawn period, is there a specific better time to throw, say, a wide wobbling square bill instead of a tight wobbling square bill?
Well, this question you can ask 10 different pros, and you're probably going to get 10 different answers. There's people that'll say you want the tighter wiggle. There's people that say you want a more wide wobble. I like the wider wobble. It's just my preference. I feel like that this time of year you get that better action out of the bait. The wider wobble, those fish are going to react to it better. Again, if the water's really cold, then yes, a tighter wiggle can be better. But this time of the year, in most places, you know, we're coming up on March here. Things are starting to warm up. Those fish are getting up there, getting ready to spawn almost everywhere in the country. Obviously, the further north you go, the later it is. But for the most part, in the central southern U.S., those fish are getting up there. They know what's happening. They know what's right around the corner, and they're going to be pretty active. They've been dormant for most of the winter. It's been real cold. The water gets cold. They get out there deep. When they finally make that move to the shallows and start their annual spawning ritual, they're gonna be pretty active. So to me, I'll stick with the wider wobble.
Let's extrapolate a little bit throughout the rest of the year. We've done a whole lot of talk about this time of year, like late winter and as we get into the early spring. But another one of the questions we had from Wade DeSantis, actually, he wants to know, what about the use of a square bill as a search bait the rest of the year? Because you mentioned in the intro that you're not afraid to throw that thing pretty much 12 months out of the year. Talk a little bit about moving forward into, you know, late spring and summer and fall with the square bill.
You know, late spring is probably the trickiest time of year to catch fish. When they get into that post-spawn time of year, those fish are pretty beat up from spawning. They're trying to move out on those offshore places and feed up and rest up. You can catch them on a square bill that time of year, but they seem to get out there a little bit deeper. The only exception to that is on river systems. We've got a really good river here close to my house, the Arkansas River, and those fish, that's the best time of year to throw a square bill crankbait is in the post-spawn. It's just because they get out on those river jetties, on the rocks, they set up just right to catch them on a square bill. I actually have one tied on almost every time I go fishing all year long. It's absolutely a great tool in the fall because those fish are moving back in those creeks again looking for shad. That's all they're doing is moving those shad back in the creeks and feeding on them. So it's absolutely one of the best tools in the fall. It's just hard to throw it in post-spawn on a clear reservoir when those fish get finished spawning and they back out into that deeper water. But other than that, it's absolutely a must-have in your tackle box, tied on your rod every time you go to the lake. And again, even in post-spawn, if you're on a river system, the river systems, they're kind of a different animal. You can actually throw square bills year-round and be very, very effective with them.
Hey, a super quick reminder, Nick. Let's go ahead and throw the graphic up on the screen here real quick to remind everybody listening tonight. So 25% off until midnight tonight. Now that's midnight in your time zone. Go to livingstonlures.com and click on any of the square bills. Now basically, you have to look through the colors, and if they're in stock, it'll tell you. If they're out of stock, it'll also tell you. But you have 25% off tonight until midnight, courtesy of this. This is obviously part of the Fish with a Pro, which we haven't really had a chance to introduce all that much, Nick. But if you go to the website and you click on the following baits, the Team Series baits include the Primetime 2.0 square, the Primetime 2.0 Coffin bill, and the Primetime 1.5 Coffin bill, and the Howler DMC square. Those are all in the Team Series, which are, of course, 4 different sound settings. That's EBS multi-touch. The Tournament Series, which is brand new. This is a green package. You may not have even seen these on the store shelves yet, but these are brand new. The Tournament Series is EBS original, but it's the same bodies. It's the Primetime Square 2.0 and the Primetime Coffin Bill 2.0 and 1.5 and the Howler Square Bill as well. And in addition, the original, the Dive Master Junior. So you have a whole bunch of different square bills at 25% off tonight only until midnight. That's a great deal.
Yeah, it's a heck of a deal, and then also we want to be able to reward everyone watching tonight about giving them some free baits. So all you got to do, you guys might remember this from last time, typing in Hank, all you have to do is type EBS, that's your 25% off coupon code, type EBS in the live chat feed. You're going to go to live chat feed in the right-hand portion of your screen, type in EBS. We're giving away 5 signed Stetson Blaylock Livingston Lures Primetime SQ 2.0s. We're giving away 5 of them signed by Stetson Blaylock. So make sure you type in your discount code EBS into the live chat. Type that bad boy in, and by the end of the night, we'll have 5 winners to give away that Stetson Blaylock signed Primetime Square 2.0. So I see the live feed blowing up. Now we got all our entries in there. So a little bit later on here, after we ask some more great questions coming from the live feed, we'll be able to pick some winners and get everyone going. We really appreciate you guys watching. So, Joel, what about the Fish with a Pro contest? I heard
super quick reminder. So this whole webinar thing is basically part of the Livingston Lures Fish with a Pro sweepstakes, which it's basically like it sounds. All you have to do is text EBS to the number 313131, and that automatically qualifies you for the chance to fish with Stetson, but not only with Stetson, all the other guys on the Team Livingston. So if you are chosen, you could fish with Randy Howell, you could fish with Jacob Porosnik, Hank Cherry, Andy Morgan, David Dudley.
We have some of our new pros there, Casey Ashley.
Casey Ashley. Yeah, that's a pretty good squad.
Yeah, and all the best lakes. I mean, you have all the best lakes in the country. I mean, Stetson specifically is Lake Fork, Texas. You get an all-expenses-paid trip to Lake Fork, Texas with Stetson Blaylock. All you got to do to enter is text EBS to 313131. Or what you can also do, everyone, is on the bottom page there, you're going to see here in the little bottom subject line down here on your YouTube, there's a link. You can click that link and enter via email if you'd like to enter to win a fishing trip with Stetson Blaylock. It doesn't get much better than that.
Lake Fork, Texas, is that not the lake where you caught over 100 pounds in 3 days, Stetson?
Yeah, I think I've been there once.
Yeah.
Once or twice, maybe.
In case you weren't aware, by the way, Stetson Blaylock's crankbait legacy is pretty strong. So in the Toyota Texas Bass Classic a couple years ago, Stetson, I don't know what your weight was, 102 pounds? I can't remember exactly. This is
102 or 105, somewhere in there.
That's in 3 days.
Yep. That's 15
guy history. That's a great place to go. When is this trip? Because I think I want to go on that.
Sign me up too, Stetson. When are you thinking about taking folks out to Lake Fork?
Oh, whenever we can. It's an open book there. We'll go just as soon as we can. The good thing about Lake Fork is it's good all year long.
Now you were talking about throwing the Primetime 2.0 to somewhere like Lake Fork. You know, what time of year you think would be getting best? Taking them in the fall there when they're up on that shallow cover and the shallow stumps and trees?
Yeah, that would be a good time. Obviously, you can catch them shallow there all year long. So it could be, you know, six of one, half a dozen of another there just to catch them shallow on the prime time. It wouldn't be trouble to do it any time of the year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that actually leads into a really great question. Joel, I know that we had a question from, what was it, Janice Dixon. You got a question there on the live feed about fishing shallow with a square bill. What's another good question coming up?
Super good question. So Janice says, I watched the fishing show with fellow Team Livingston pro Brent Chapman as a guest, and he was fishing square bills really, really fast in shallow water, like as fast, literally as fast as he could crank them. He caught a bunch of fish. Once the water warms, is speed cranking normal, or is it more normal to fish them at a slower, steadier rate? That's it.
I think that varies. To me, it seems like with a square bill crankbait, 9 out of 10 times you're trying to get a reaction strike. It's more of a reaction than it is that fish are actually feeding. And a lot of times when you're in that super shallow water, in order to get those fish to react, you have to bring it really fast by them. In my opinion, in order to catch fish off of like a brush pile, shallow brush pile, or a stump or a laydown, sometimes you may have to make 3 or 4 casts to get that fish to bite, and sometimes you just make one quick cast across the top of his head. If he's sitting there ready, he'll react to it. But again, the faster you reel, the more you're just relying on a reaction strike. So if those fish are feeding real good, you can actually slow it down. But if they're not really feeding that well and you want to cover a lot of water, then the faster you reel it, the better chance you have of getting a reaction strike by a fish.
No, that actually leads into another really good question from Ralph about fishing shallow. Is, you know, do you rip those shallow crankbaits? Do you rip them through vegetation? Shallow vegetation guys always ask about, do I throw it above the vegetation, really into the vegetation, or try and keep it right on top? Do you rip it through violently and fast through that shallow veg?
Yeah, that's a really good question. My number one key there is if I'm fishing grass, I want that bait to be as close to that grass as possible without burying up in it. And what I mean by burying up is in it, you want that bait to hit that grass, but you don't want that the square bill to just run down there and stick right in the grass. A lot of there's several different types of grass, but some grasses the bait comes through a little bit better. Some grasses it won't come through very good at all. So you have to find that happy medium. How far down in the grass you want the bait to get. But absolutely, if those fish are buried up in that grass and you have to get that bait down in the grass with them, ripping it out of there. And the really good thing about the Primetime 2.0 is the EBS technology. When you reel it down there and hit that grass and you rip it up out of there, you can give it a 3 or 4 second pause, and you'll get that sound. It'll let off the sound into the water, and a lot of strikes will come when that bait's sitting there paused right above that grass. Those fish they can't stand it when the bait sounds so real to them that they can't tell it from a fake one. And I feel like you get a lot of bites by being able to let that bait do the work for you. I can't stress that enough, that if you're going to throw a square bill crankbait, you're crazy not to throw one with EBS.
Joel, we can't hear you there, brother. You back on? I think your microphone there is turned off, Joel. But to Stetson, going into another question there.
And it's back on again.
Oh, there you go. You back on there?
Yeah, my bad.
Oh, come on, Joel. You're supposed to be you're the professional radio host.
You would think so. What I was saying silently that nobody else could hear was we had a follow-up question to the thing about grass. So is grass absolutely critical? Because the question we have from Wade is, when you're fishing a square bill, you just talked about digging into the grass. What about the bottom? Do you want to scrape the bottom, or is it dependent on the season and the forage?
My rule of thumb with a square bill crankbait is it's made to hit structure. So every cast I make a cast with it, I want it hitting something, whether that be rocks, wood, brush. And don't get me wrong, these baits are designed to go through cover, but if you make 1,000,000 casts in a day like I do, you're going to get hung up, and that's just part of the game. You have to be confident enough in your ability to be able to fish that bait effectively, and stay. You have to kind of stay at even keel with it, because for one, a square bill crankbait works tremendously well covering water, but it also works tremendously well when you're throwing it around structures. So is grass critical? No, it works just as good around wood, rocks, and heck, I've even throw it on the river on sand. That absolutely nothing there but sand like on the beach. And it's funny you ask if you want it to be digging and stuff. There's certain lakes that we go to, like Hartwell, that are a lot of clay banks, and that square bill, when you reel it in every cast, the bill will actually be caked with that red clay from digging in the bottom so much. And that's what you want. You want that bait down there kicking up sediment, kicking up the bottom, and it just gets more reaction strikes that way.
Yeah. No, that's, that whole clay bite and running that bait along the bottom. A good question that we have coming from the live feed is, and those impoundments that have that red clay and there's a mud line happening with really dark water, are there any specific colors that you go to, or any specific technique when you're fishing those mud lines and really dark water? Any specific colors and or techniques you use there with Squarebill?
If I'm fishing mud lines, and I'm going to use the example of a clear water lake that has clay banks, that when the wind blows, it has a mud line that'll come off a couple to 5 feet off the bank, sometimes even further. I'm going to throw a bright shad color, and the candy shad is a perfect bait for doing that. It's just a white shad emanating color, and I feel like that the retrieve best for that is you throw it right on the bank. And a lot of those fish will be sitting right in that line where it changes from muddy to clear. And I always try, when I feel like my bait's getting to that break, I'm going to pause it. Again, I say that a lot, but pausing the bait for me, bringing it really fast and killing it, gets you a lot of strikes with a square bill crankbait. If I'm fishing it in really, really dark water, that's when I'm going to go to that gold shad. Even if there's not gold shiners in the whatever lake I'm fishing, if it's that dark tea or coffee water that I call it, the gold shad is my go-to every time. I just think it's got enough shine to the sides that with the sun shining, it's perfect. It just reflects that shad shine really good in that dark. It's not dirty water. It's just real dark tea or coffee colored.
So Stetson, we're gonna kind of lead into the next series of questions with kind of a quick preview question of this before we kind of preview the deals for the day. But modifications and tweaks and adjustments that you could make to a square bill, and I've seen that we've had a couple of these questions on the live feed, and I know that Robert's back answering these questions. But in case you didn't get a chance to look at these, you pull your square bill out of the package for the very first time. Folks who have fished plugs or crankbaits for years understand there can be a tuning process. Talk a little bit about that in relation to the ones we've talked about so far, the primetime baits and the howler baits.
Well, the good thing about all of the baits that we have designed here at Livingston are they're pretty much ready to go out of the package. If you do tie it on and you throw it in the water and it runs a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, all you do is you take a pair of pliers and the line tie that actually goes into the bait, you just bend it opposite of the way that the bait's running. And I don't mean bend it much. I mean just a very slight bit, and it should straighten that bait out to running true back to you. If sometimes you may bend it a little too far, it'll start going the other way, so just take it and bend it back. Me personally, especially with the Primetime 2.0, it's one of my favorite baits. I don't do anything to it. One thing that I will do is on tournament day I put new hooks on it, and I always go a size bigger. I don't mind to throw a number 2 hook on it. It seems like when those big fish are swatting at it, or for some reason, whatever reason the day, they may not be eating the bait really good. That bigger hook will sometimes catch extra fish too that you might not catch with smaller hooks. When I'm practicing, I throw the stock hooks on it. The bait works just fine with the hooks that come on it. I think mostly when it comes to cranking, the biggest keys to changing the bait and the way the bait works, other than changing your hook sizes, is your line size. It's amazing what downsizing your line will do as far as getting your bait deeper. Obviously, when you're throwing a square bill, most of the time you're wanting to throw it pretty shallow, so that's why I say stick with a 15 or even a 17. If I'm throwing it around wood or laydowns or brush where I'm just fishing in 1 foot to 2 foot of water, I'm going to throw it on 17-pound test. And I do that because if you hook a big fish up there around that structure, then I don't want to have any reason for that fish to break me off. So I'm going to go with the biggest line possible. If I'm going to use, if I want the bait to get really, really deep, then I'm going to go even down to 10 or 12-pound test. And again, I choose 10, 12, 15, 17. I like to throw fluorocarbon, and I throw Seagar and Vizex on every crankbait that I throw, whether it be a square bill or a deep diver. There's something about fluorocarbon line that just gives you a better feel. The bait works like it's supposed to a lot better, in my opinion, on fluorocarbon line. And that's some of the key things that you can do to help it. Again, these baits work really well right out of the package, other than maybe having to tune it right to left a little bit to get it to run the way you want it to. But again, they're pretty good right out of the package.
Stetson, we're going to go ahead and hold that for 1 second because we have a couple of more questions that are a little bit offshoots of what you just talked about. But in the meantime, let's remind everybody who's watching right now, you have 25% off all Livingston square bills until midnight tonight. That's 25% off. Go to livingstonlures.com and go surf around all the square bills, and that includes all the square bills in the team series. That includes all the square bills in the pro series. That includes the square bills in the brand new tournament series. That would be the Primetime Square 2.0, the Primetime Coffin Bill 2.0, the Primetime Coffin Bill 1.5, and the Howler DMC squared in both the Livingston team series and the tournament series. And the pro series, that covers the Dive Master Junior. Nick, we also have some entries for the Fish with a Pro Sweepstakes.
We do. All you got to do is text EBS to 313131. All you have to text EBS to 313131 to enter to win a fishing trip with Stetson Blaylock or any other of the Livingston Lures pros here. Currently, right now, we have running is Hank Cherry's and Stetson Blaylock's Fish with a Pro contest. So you can enter to win a fishing trip with Stetson on Lake Fork, Texas, or Hank Cherry out there in Lake Norman. So what else we also have here tonight, I'm giving away five Livingston Lures signed by Stetson Blaylock. So everyone, all you got to do to enter this giveaway, this signed lure giveaway, is put in your live chat feed EBS. Type in EBS on that live feed. We already have 3 winners. We need 2 more winners here before the night ends. Type in EBS on that live feed to enter to win a chance to get a Stetson Blaylock signed Livingston Lures Primetime 2.0. So just a couple great features of Livingston Live. You got the great discount, you can win some lures, and also you can soak up the knowledge from one of the best square bill fishermen in the game. So, Joel, we got some other great questions coming from the live feed. We got about 10-15 more minutes to go. Let's knock out these questions and spread the knowledge.
Let's go ahead. So we're going to kind of jump around a little bit on this last segment here, but let's kind of get into Stetson. I want to go back to gearing up correctly to fish a square bill. We've had a couple of guys who have said, hey, listen, lots of shallow plugs seem like they're too light to throw on a casting stick, and they seem more suited to spinning gear. What are your thoughts on that? Because, I mean, obviously, I mean, everybody's skill level is a little bit different. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the gear again real quick.
Well, again, I prefer a 7 foot 7-1 medium action. And my square bill rod is a 13 fishing Crankenstein. It's a 7-1. It's a medium action, but it's a little bit heavier than some people would say a medium action is. And one reason I like that is it's soft enough to let the bait load up when you're casting. It's soft enough to fight the fish when they bite it. You don't pull the hooks out of them. But for people that can't throw a bait caster or don't like to throw light crankbaits on a caster, you can do it on a spinning rod just as well. You just want to your line, of course, is going to be a little bit different. I would prefer to throw it on a braided line, preferably 20-pound braid, and do like a 10 to 12-pound leader on it. Again, though, the bait's going to be it's going to work a little bit different when you're doing that. So to really maximize especially fishing a square bill around cover, shallow cover, to maximize its efficiency, you're going to want to throw it on a bait caster. Even if it's hard to throw, I mean, even for myself, there's some out there that are hard to throw, and the Primetime 2.0 is not one of those. This bait, at any level that you are, if you can throw a bait caster, you can throw a Primetime 2.0. Even the 1.5, they throw really well. They're weighted right, they're balanced right, so they do exactly what you want them to. You can put them in really tight places. It's not something that you can. It's not something that I say you have to throw on a bait caster. You can throw it on a spinning rod. It's better for working the bait and getting it in those tight places. You can catch it better on a bait caster.
Slightly more advanced question here that just came in. Stetson wants to know a little bit about boat positioning and casting angles for targets when you're throwing with a square bill. Talk a little bit about boat conditioning or boat positioning and casting angles, if you wouldn't mind.
When I'm fishing down a rocky bank, riprap, I'm going to stay as close as I can to the rocks. I want that bait to stay in the strike zone as long as it can. And again, you have to experiment with that because the fish could be right up on the bank and they could be 3 feet off the bank. And you kind of have to figure that out by just experimenting with your cast angles and your distances off the rocks to figure out exactly right where they are. And once you do figure that out, then you can get your boat, and get it positioned properly to maximize your cast. That way you don't have any time in the length of your cast that's not in that strike zone. Now, if I'm fishing laydowns or stumps, if I'm fishing a stump flat, I'll make circles around stumps because you just never know which angle the fish is going to be. You might have to fish it from the deep side first, then go up on the shallow side and fish it right to left. You just never know. Obviously, if the sun's shining, they're going to probably be on the shady side of the stump. If it's cloudy, then they could even be off the stumps a little bit. If I'm fishing laydowns or structure that's right against a bank but runs off the bank, I'm gonna make straight on cast. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna wait till my boat gets straight ahead, straight out in front of the log or laydown, and I'm gonna throw right parallel with the log or laydown. And again, you want to make multiple casts. If it's a good-looking piece of structure, you want to make as many casts as you feel like you need to make in order for that fish to bite. But you want to be able to cat bait as close to the structure as you can. So as far as boat positioning goes, no matter what you're fishing, you just want to keep your boat in the position to where you can keep your bait in the strike zone the longest. Whether you're fishing rocks, you want to keep your boat right against the rocks. If you're fishing laydowns, you want to not make a cast until your boat is right off the end of that laydown, so you can make the most effective cast down that log or down that laydown.
So Stetson, we're moving along the cover. We're casting shallow cover, and getting those specific angles. Now, a good question here we get all the time is gear ratio. Is there a specific gear ratio that you prefer when you're shallow crank and when you're specifically casting and reeling at targets that over any other gear ratios?
There he is. Again, I throw a 13 fishing Concept E, and I throw a 7-3-1 every time. And I say that because the 7-3-1 gives you a little bit more speed, but you can also slow it down if you need to, or pause it if you need to. I just feel like when you're throwing a square bill crankbait, especially shallow, then you want to make as many casts as you possibly can, so that faster gear ratio helps a lot. Now, a reason I don't throw an 8-to-1 in that situation is, to me, an 8-to-1 makes the bait, it changes the action of the bait. It doesn't allow the bait to have the correct wobble. It doesn't allow the bait to it comes through the water column too quickly. So you kind of have to experiment with that also. If you're fishing in super shallow water and you're wanting to keep that bait up really high and just burn it as fast as you can, then you can throw an 8-to-1. But for most of my square bill fishing, the best gear ratio for me is a 7-3-to-1.
Stetson, let's talk a little bit about hooks. So you had mentioned earlier that you will occasionally upsize your hooks in certain situations. But we've got a question here from William Schneider, which also has to do somewhat with the size of hooks, but also with color. So I'm just going to read this directly. It said, if a square bill I'm using doesn't have any red coloring on the belly or on the gill area, I will add some. But that said, a friend of mine advised me to simply change the front treble to a red treble of the same size. What are your thoughts on these two options?
Well, you know, for me, I may not be as picky as some people are when it comes to red hooks. There's some people that firmly believe that a red hook on the front of the bait, the fish will actually eat the bait head first better because of that red hook. I firmly believe that when you're square bill fishing, you're moving that bait most of the time too fast for them to see that red hook. I think a lot of times it's just a reaction, so they're not really looking for that red. Again, when it comes to colors of square bills, to me it's more about the shade than it is the actual details of the color. A shad color, to me, is a shad color is a shad color. There's all different types of shad colors. Some of them vary a little bit from different things, but as long as it's a white-ish shad color, it's going to catch the fish in most situations. If you want a crawl color, as long as it's an orange, chartreuse, red, then it's going to work in that situation. So for me, I'm not sold on the red hooks. Matter of fact, if you ask me if I had any on any baits right now in my tackle box, I'd tell you no. It's just not something that I think is critical. Obviously, sometimes on a jerk bait, something that's sitting still for a long period of time, a red hook may make a difference, but that's just something that you have to experiment on your own. And if you like that and you're confident in it, don't change it because I said I don't use those. If you're confident in it, then stick to that red hook, because to me, fishing is won and lost. More times than not, it's won and lost in between your ears. And if you're not confident throwing something, then you don't need to be doing it. And if you're confident in throwing red hooks, then I'd say stick with it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's some confidence. It's funny, but everyone, fishermen, we're always searching for the next best pattern, the next best bait. Well, when you have the confidence, the EBS technology, and the confidence of what you're throwing in, no matter what it is, you know it's going to help you out there on the water. So leading another hook question here really quick from Nick James off the live feed. He wants to know, do you replace the factory treble hooks on your square bill to change the action or to change the hookup ratio at all when you're out there on the water?
Again, this is another one of those questions that's more about, the answer to this question is more about just me being confident in what I'm doing. I throw the stock hooks in practice and hardly ever lose a fish. And why do I go to pitch them out as soon as the tournament starts? To me, it's just want to have fresh, sharp hooks. Is changing the hook size, changing the action of it? It probably does a little bit, but it's not enough for me to make a difference. I would just rather have a big hook, a one size bigger hook, just to in my opinion, one size bigger hook just have a lot less chance of missing those fish that are just kind of swatting at your bait or just barely nipping at the back of it. So I like to stick with a one size bigger treble. Again, you can throw the stock hooks all day long and never miss fish. That's what I do in practice, and it seems like I hardly ever lose one. But I'd like to have a hook that's sharp and fresh more than anything. That's the only thing keep you connected to that bait. That fish connected to that bait is that hook, and I want to make sure it's as sharp as possible.
No, that's good. I mean, that's something that we provide really quality stock hooks there on the bait, and it's something that you can take right out of the package and fish. Now, another technical
Absolutely.
question here out from the live feed is the difference between, and this is more of a real technical question here, is the difference between throwing a square bill like our Primetime Square 2.0 in comparison to our Primetime Square Coffin bill. Is there any time specifically that you switch up between, say, the Coffin bill or the square bill, depending on the conditions?
I think the Coffin bill has a little bit tighter of a wiggle, and I feel like it's not as weedless around heavy structure. If you're just covering lots of water, just fishing mainly open water or flats, sand flats, silty bottom, I think the Coffin bill's fine. Me personally, I choose the square bill 9 times out of 10. It's just my confidence bait. Again, there's nothing wrong with the Coffin bill. A lot of guys will tell you that they like it better. For me, I just choose the square bill. Again, the Coffin bill seems to have a little bit tighter wiggle. If you're one of the guys that like to have a tighter wiggle to your bill, it's definitely the one you're going to want to throw. For me, I just prefer the square bill.
So we're about ready to wrap up here, but we have a super quick reminder that those of you who are going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma over the next handful of days, we do have an event that Stetson might actually be at. He'll be at the Livingston booth, and I don't know what your hours are exactly, Stetson, but I know you'll be at the Livingston booth at the expo at the Bassmaster Classic. So if you have follow-up questions, and if you're fortunate enough to be in Tulsa over the next handful of days, you might want to roll up on Stetson and ask him those questions. Stetson, you ready to answer some more? Because I'm sure that people will have more questions for you.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure I didn't get to answer every question that you guys had, but I hope that some of these questions that I answered will help you be a little bit more successful in your square bill fishing. Again, I can't stress enough that anytime, no matter what kind of fishing you're doing, but especially with square bills, there's no wrong way to do it, and you have to get out there and experiment with different line sizes, with different techniques, different colors, and just get comfortable with what you're doing. As soon as you get comfortable and confident and catch a few fish, then you'll be good to go.
I want to throw out one final reminder here before we go off the air. And hang tight there, Stetson. We're not quite done with you yet. 25% off tonight until midnight on all Livingston Lures square bills. Go to www.livingstonlures.com and take a look at the Team Series and the Tournament Series, both of which include the Primetime Square 2.0, the Primetime CB Coffin Bill 2.0, the Primetime Coffin Bill 1.5, and the Howler DMC Squared, and also the Dive Master Junior in the original Pro Series. 25% off until midnight tonight. The code is very simple. The code is EBS. You type in that code at checkout and you get your 25% off deal. Nick, we also have a couple of other things going on too, correct?
We do. So, one thing I just had everyone there put in EBS in the live chat feed. Well, we got 4 winners. We have 1 left. We're looking for 1 more winner for a signed Stetson Blaylock Primetime 2.0. So before we leave out tonight, jump on the live chat, type in EBS. We're looking for 1 final winner of our Stetson Blaylock signed lure contest. So jump on there, type in EBS real quick. We'll be announcing the winners here in 1 more minute. We'll announce all 5 winners. But Joel, what can they expect from us there at the Livingston Lures booth? Stetson's going to be there asking questions. What else do you think they can expect from us?
A quick reminder, so the cool part about the Classic is that obviously Livingston has guys fishing the Classic. Randy Howell, Jacob Porosnik, Casey Ashley. But all the rest of the gang is going to be there as well. So if you have questions, if you want to roll up on Andy Morgan or David Dudley or basically any of the other guys, they're going to be kind of around about that booth. So you have an opportunity. See, this is different than some of the other conventions we have, like say at an ICAST, where the public doesn't come to. You have a chance to interact with these guys, ask them questions face to face. If you want to know what exactly it is about EBS that causes fish to do what they do, just roll up to the guys and ask them at the Classic. And while you're there, there will be signage that reminds you, hey, by the way, text EBS to 31313 3-1, and you can qualify to spend the day on the boat, all expenses paid. We're talking about flying you to some of the best bass fisheries in the country and fishing with the Team Livingston pros. And all you have to do is send a simple text to 313131. Text EBS, or you can go to the Livingston Lures website and enter through there. But there's so much going on at the Classic, I can't even describe it all.
Yeah, Joel's going to be busy taking photos and videos, and you know, one thing you can actually, folks at home, can join us on Livingston Live at the Classic. Now, we're not going to be doing it here on Google Hangouts on Air, but you can follow us on Periscope. We'll also be posting to social media. You guys can send in your questions. We'll be offering Livingston Live in the Classic booth with Stetson, Hank Cherry, Andy Morgan, the whole entire championship-winning crew will be at your disposal to answer questions and talk fishing the entire Classic. No matter if you're in the expo or you're sitting at home watching Bassmaster Live, tune into Livingston Live, ask your questions, we'll be able to answer them. So everyone, I thank you for watching, but before we leave you guys, we're going to announce these winners of the signature signed Livingston Lures contest from Stetson Blaylock. So we have our 5 winners. Everyone listening, we have Clay Dixon, Darren Thomas, Hunter Young, Jordan Allen, and Michael Morgan. Guys, I'm going to put your names here in the live chat feed. Make sure that you send us a message either over Google or Facebook, or simply send into the customer service line at livingstonlures.com. Send us in your information, your address, so we can make sure to mail you out your signed Primetime 2.0 from Stetson Blaylock. So Joel,
we need to extend our thanks to Stetson tonight because little as everybody else knows, Stetson's on injured reserve right now. Not feeling great, but managed to pull through it. Stetson, really appreciate it, buddy.
Did we lose him already? Did the flu get him already?
I think so. Yeah.
I got you. I'm here.
Thanks for your time, Stetson. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, not a problem, Stetson. We appreciate it. And everyone, like I said, you can tune in during the Bassmaster Classic here this week. Tune in, Livingston Live, ask your questions. And then up next, we're going to have Jacob Prosnick here in a few weeks, David Dudley in another couple weeks on Livingston Live to talk fishing, ask your questions, and learn from some of the best fishermen in the country. So everyone, thank you for watching. Join us next time on Livingston Live. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good night, Joel. Have a good night, Stetson.
Thanks. You too.